Hello everyone, this is same day, later on the same day, and I was not very happy with my last video. I didn't like I just can't get my act together, I guess you would say. But we're going to be making a tote bag for a special customer. Her name is Miss Elizabeth. I'm not going to give you her last name. She knows who she is. And I made a purse a couple weeks ago, and she wanted one of them. So we got her her initials embroidered today. And one of the issues I had for taking so long to get it done was I had a whole jar of these magnetic snaps, and I wanted to use this on her bag, and I couldn't find them. And a very nice lady that worked at Hancock's Fabrics in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, found me one day on Facebook, and she sent me a message and told me that if I ever needed any help with any kind of fabric or anything that at her store, to let her know. And she would work with me very, very well. She would, you know, coupons that I didn't know about, she would have for me. And anyway, I've got a jar. I bought all they had left when the store went out of business, and I had a jar. I've got a jar full of, well, now it's about half full. But to buy this one was 99 cents, which I probably got it less than that on sale. But to replace these, some places I've seen these are like $4. But so if you can find a sale on these, buy them if you enjoy making the bags, because they are expensive. I did find some really cute purse closures on a website, and I'm not going to share that with you because I don't know if I can recommend them or not. I have actually placed an order with this company, not for the purse closures, but for some other things, and I wanted to wait for that order to come in and let me see the quality of the goods and if I liked them, and for the price and all of that. Unfortunately, it is a Chinese company, and I looked at the tracking today, and they've been sitting in customs since May the 1st. I'm talking not May the 1st, September the 1st. So they've been sitting in customs for 10 days, 11 days, and they're supposed to be here by the 25th of September, I believe. So if I do like the stuff that's coming in, and I want to order some of the purse closures, I'd probably go ahead and buy a couple of dozen. That way I would have, if I seen that I was going to need them, I could afford to, wait that 4.5 weeks for them to come in. So, but this is just a magnetic closure, and I'm going to show you how to attach this. Very simple to do. I'll show you all the supplies that we need. We need 2 small little pieces like this. They don't even have to be this big. They could even be half this size, and I may cut one of them in half. But just 2 small pieces like this. And this is canvas that I'm working with today. A disclaimer on what I'm doing today. I have a heavy-duty industrial sewing machine. I have given tours of my sewing machine before. I've done videos on my sewing machine. Now, we're going to be working with canvas. You do not have to do this with canvas. You can do this with a lightweight denim. You can with any fabric that you want to use. And but this canvas is got a lot of body to it, which means it's stiff. And so I do not recommend, unless you've got a heavy-duty sewing machine, you run, because we're going to be going through 2 and 3 layers of canvas at a time. Well, a small portion of this will be 2 or 3 layers of canvas. So we have a few strips that are 3 inches wide of the full width of the fabric, and I think it's probably the full width of this fabric is probably 60 inches. We have 1 wide strip, and I don't remember, let me measure and see how wide I cut this one. Cut it about 7 1/4 inches wide, and did the lady's monogram on it, EDA. This lady has been a follower of mine for a good while, and she is a sweet lady. Her daughter sent me a message one day and told me that I want you to know that my mother is your biggest fan. She always talks about what you've posted new on Facebook, something new that you've made, and she's always talking about you, and I just want you to know my mother is your biggest fan. So Miss Elizabeth has ordered this bag, and this is the one I made for myself. I didn't even use a closure. I just left it wide open, which is the way I like my purses, but I'm gonna put a closure on hers. I've cut about 3 strips at 2 inches wide, and this is gray. My lighting is not good, it's getting late in the day. So I've got about 3 or 4 strips of the gray and 2 inch wide. I have cut a red handle, and it's 4.5 inches wide by the full width of the fabric. Only one. You only need one of these, and we're actually going to cut this one in half. And then I've got this wider piece, and you don't have to have this piece, but I think that I need to make an adjustment to my monogram, and I'm going to need this piece to do that. So this is just an extra piece that I cut. You will need a piece of fusible fleece. It's bumpy on one side, smooth on the other. The bumpy side is the glue side. That's the side we're going to be working with. And you need a piece of lining the same size as the fusible fleece. Now the fusible fleece was cut at 14.5 inches wide, and it was cut 32 inches long. Open it up, and I've drawn my, once again I put a mark at halfway. Should have been on this side, but I can see it well enough. And I want to center this wide piece. Wrong end. I want to kind of eyeball centering this piece with this line here. So I'm kind of measuring the D of the monogram. But I'm going to drop this down just a little bit. That's where I'm afraid that my monogram, I'm afraid Beth, and I probably told her to do it, so I'm not going to blame her. But I'm going to put this monogram down just a little lower because I think it's too high for the bag. But what I'm going to do, this is where this piece comes in. I'm actually going to frame this monogram on 3 sides. And we're going to lay it like this, so that whenever we do our seam, it's not going to get into the monogram. Her purse will be a little different because I did use recycled blue jeans that I had left over from an order I did from last year, and I came across these jeans and I thought, I'm going to make me a bag out of that. So that's what I did. And we will just lay this up. And we don't have to use an iron on this canvas. If it was a lighter weight fabric, I suggest you use an iron and iron that out nice and smooth. But this canvas finger presses very nicely. Then we're going to kind of make sure that our red is straight all the way down. And let's cut off this excess across the bottom because this canvas is wider than we need, and it's just a lot easier to work with if you cut that excess off the bottom. And then we're going to take one of the narrow pieces of the canvas, and we're going to go right down, starting at the very top of the fleece, very top of the fleece, and we're going to sew all the way down. Keeping everything pressed and nice and smooth. I may have to pause for a minute. Bethany had to take care of some personal business, and she'll be back to embroider some shirts that we got a quick order on. He came by a couple of weeks ago and asked me about doing them for him. And then he came by yesterday and asked me again to do them. He didn't have the shirts with him that day. He came by a couple of weeks ago, but he come back and he asked me yesterday to do a custom embroidery job for him. So Bethany's going to come back and finish those for me. She just happened. She had to have some surgery 2 weeks ago today. She didn't look so good. Bethany was looking pretty ragged. She had a gallbladder issue, which is something that happens to everybody. All the females in our family cannot tolerate a gallbladder, so she had to go in the hospital, and she had some complications and had to have actually one of the stones left her gallbladder. It was blocking the duct between her gallbladder and her liver. Her liver enzymes were high, and Bethany did not look good. So they had to go in there and remove that stone out of there, and then 2 days later they went in and removed her gallbladder. So she was in hospital for about 4 or 5 days. Okay, if you can see, when we press this over, there's just a little hair of the fleece showing through. And I'm going to think about that for a minute and decide whether or not I want to. I don't think I want to cover that, because the reason is we would have another seam of canvas right here, very thick and very heavy, and then plus you've got to do your sides. You got to fold this in half and sew it up, and you'll have a very bulky side seam. So it doesn't like much, and I'm going to make an adjustment for that by trimming down that fleece on that side. Now let's go back to the other side here, and we need a gray strip. I could have turned this over and sewn from the other direction, but I don't want to sew some in one direction and sew then the other direction. I'm afraid it might twist it, so I'm just going to be inconvenienced for a few minutes and do it like this. But Bethany is feeling much better. She has been able to, she helped me last week, Thursday and Friday, and she can't go back to her regular job, I think, until Monday. So I asked her to come and help me get a few things done. Just, it's a lot of little nitpicking stuff, like the monogram for this purse, of name on this quilt, and then this lady ordered this big order. It was her first grandbaby, and she wanted one of my gowns and one of my little newborn boggin cap, knit cap things, and she wanted one of the hooded towels with a name on it. She wanted a custom burp cloth with the baby's name on it, and she wanted a custom quilt with the baby's name on it. So Bethany did all of the embroidery for everything. Alright, if you go the length of my bag here, strip will only go one time, because it's over half of the length of the bag is over half the length of the fabric, so it falls a little short. But don't throw away those scraps. You could use them for something else. This looks like this may cover all the way to the edge. Oh yeah, This one's going to cover all the way, so I probably did not put my monogram exactly in the center, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Alright, this is the exterior of our bag, and we're going to flip it over. Now, I said fusible fleece. If you were using a lighter weight fabric, you would iron these instead of finger pressing like I just did. You would iron them, and that would actually stick to the fleece. It would give your bag a lot more body. This canvas doesn't really need that much more body. I like to make these purses, and they will stand up. When you set them down, they will still be standing up. They won't be all flopped over. Cutting all the excess off of here. And there's quite a bit of excess on this side. We just want to do this kind of like we do the stocking. You know, we have our base here, which is this white fusible fleece, and we want to cut away everything that's not part of the bag. Okay, now let's fold this in half like this. Make sure that we've got everything even. Start at the bottom with the right sides of the bag facing each other. And let's do a back stitch, because in the process of making this bag, that is a stress point right here at the top of this. So let's just back stitch right there and cut down on any future problems with that. And I did not trim the excess fleece, so I'm going to flip this right side out right quick just to check my work. It's a lot easier to check your work as you go than it is to go realize you've made a mistake like that right there and then have to take your bag completely apart again. See, I've missed the whole thing. So that is good. I'm glad that I checked that. Let's turn this thing wrong side outers again. And we're gonna sew in a little deeper. And hopefully that fixed the issue. Perfect. Perfect. Now we got to turn it the wrong way again. The wrong side outers again. And I'm going to trim these seams down. And I will show you why you have to do that. Why that's necessary. Because you're going to be, well, I'll just tell you, you're going to be cutting out a whole lot of bulk. This side is not the side that had all that fleece, but I am going to cut it down as much as I think is safe right here at the top, because that's where our lining is going to attach, and I want to cut down on as much bulk there as I possibly can. Now this side is the side I didn't cut away all of that extra fleece, and so I'm going to go back and do that now and get rid of this bulk. Now here's a little trick I'd like to show you. I'm full of tricks. Take your bag and you open it up, and we're going to take this bottom corner. We are going to line up this side seam, and we're just going to, it's not a big deal. we're just going to kind of eyeball it, and then pick a spot on your sewing machine that's about 2.5 inches away from your needle, and I'm going to pick this round circle right here, and I'm going to put my point where it will land about halfway. There's 2 sets of screws, and I'm going to go in between those 2 sets of screws, make sure everything is straight, and I'm going to go straight across this point, and we're going to have a corner just like this. And we'll do that again on the other side, and remembering our reference point to the sewing machine, we're going to run this point straight across between those 2 screws, and then we're going to cut that off right below the seam. Don't cut your seam. Never cut your seam when you're trimming. Oh, that's tough. My poor old finger, after I'm left-handed, and years and years and years of cutting has left me with a permanent callus right there. And sometimes I will take a piece of fabric, just a piece of scrap fabric, and wrap around it a couple times and then tie a knot in it, and I like the knot to sit right on top of that callus, because that knot is the most padding I can get between my finger and those scissor handles. Alright, let's turn it right back. Let's turn it right side out again. And there we have the bag with box corners. And this bag is measuring about 14 inches tall now, with our monogram. Now we're going to lay this part aside, and we're going to work on the lining. I've got a red lining right here, and I'm going to do it's on the fold at the bottom, so we don't have to sew the bottom part. I am using white thread so you can see my seams real well, but when I get to a certain point, I am going to change my thread, because we're going to be top stitching. Alright, the reference point that you used, you need to leave a hole, not really a hole, but a part that you did not sew on the side of this bag. And I'm just gonna pick this out right quick. Alright, and I'm going to go back right to where I picked the thread out, and I'm going to do a back stitch right there, so it won't tear when we're pulling the purse through the hole. Now we're going to take the bottom, do exactly like we did on the outside of the purse, and we're going to use the same reference point on our machine, halfway between those screws right there, and we're making the lining to fit our bag perfectly. come unthreaded. And we'll cut out these corners. And there we have the lining. Now, we're going to determine the center. We only have to do that for one side. Figure out the center of, and go down. We're going to go down. We're going to find the center of the lining. I got it folded in half. Seam side here, folded side here. And I'm going to go down about this far in the lining, which is about 2 1/4 inches, 2 1/2 inches, something like that will be great. And then we're going to open up our little magnetic snout, and it comes with 2 plates like this with holes in them. Let me lay them down here, maybe you can see them better. It comes like that with 2 holes in them and a center hole. I don't know what the center hole is for. And then it comes with your actual snout. Now these can be, well, that wasn't hard. It comes with these 2 pieces. Well, a male and a female, I guess you call it. I'm going to lay these aside. And let's open up our bag at our center point that we have marked. And if you can see that pin poking through to the right side. You see that or not? There it is. We're going to, this is the inside of the bag. This is the right side. This is the side that's got the no raw edges showing. I'm going to take and open this up. Now, I should have brought a marker. Let's see if I can find something. Well, it's not that necessary. Let's take the male side and put my glasses on for this, and we're going to lay it kind of across that pin at that point that you can see the pin to the other side, and lay that right there and hold our finger on it kind of tight, bring it to the other side like this, remove our pin, and we're going to just snip the fabric at the top of the prongs, and don't snip much, just a hair. You don't want to snip too much. This is the best way I know to measure the holes you need for this. Okay, we want to poke this through just like this. You have your prongs on the wrong side of the lining, and then we need our little bitty, what did I do with them? May have to cut some more. That's okay, I'll just cut some more. Take our little squares that we cut a while ago, rectangles, and because these snaps will pull through this lightweight fabric. That's experience talking. My aunt said that to me one time, and I thought that was so funny when she said that. This is experience talking. And let's kind of, there's room for error on this part of it because this is not going to show. Oh, my finger. I like to snip it. Might not cut this fabric, but it'll cut your finger. Push one side in. This just gives it some more stability because, have you ever stapled plastic? Because I have. Trying to put the walls on my greenhouse. I used to have, well, I still have a greenhouse, but I used to have a working greenhouse that I actually worked in and sold plants. But I stapled the plastic just straight with a staple gun, and it don't hold. A good wind comes through and it will blow it away. It will snatch it right out. So we learned that if you just take, I would sit and cut little squares of cardboard while my husband stapled, and we stapled it through that cardboard, and it would hold up. All right, now we have our little plate on the prongs, and we're going to lay this on a good firm surface, and we're going to take the scissors we care about the most in the world, and we're going, I'm just joking about that part. You could use the end of a screwdriver. Don't do anything. Don't use anything sharp because you might get your finger. But we're just going to mash these prongs, and they're not hard to mash. Mash these prongs in toward the center. I think the instructions say to fold them outside of the, but I never have done that way. I've always thought they look better and did better this way. Now we have a beautiful snap on the inside of our lining, no raw edges. Now we're going to take our lining now, and we're going to lay it like this. Take the feet, that was the female part. This is the male part, and we're going to snap them together. Let's straighten that booger up a little bit, make them straight. Lay it up here, easy peasy. Put our fingers down there so we can see what we're doing. We can find the little prongs, barely cut them so they'll poke through. I've done this a jillion times. There, we can see both of them now. If we can find our holes again. Put my glasses on. My eyesight just keeps getting worse, and I feel like, and I don't know if that's why I have such headaches lately or too much stress. I don't know, but sometimes my eyes hurt so, my head hurts so bad, and I think, well, maybe it's my sinuses, but sometimes I think it's my eye, and it could be my neck. I've got some major hardware in my neck that I have to contend with every day. But my sewing helps to me to forget my troubles when it comes to my neck. We have our square on that side. We'll take our second plate, lay it into the little prongs like that, and take our tool here that we use to make delicate cuts in fabric, and we're going to fold these big heavy metal things right down. Now this won't cut your finger doing this, but it will mash the crap out of it. Get those folded down toward the center, and there we go. We have our lining done. Now I'm going to change the color of my thread, and I'm going to put you on hold for that, because sometimes it takes some adjusting on this machine after you find a red bobbin. There's a red bobbin. Sometimes it takes a minute to get this machine adjusted when you change the bobbin or the thread. So give me just a few minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, we are back, and now we're going to make our handle. And my handle I made the other day, I think I started out at about 23 inches. And the reason I say I started out at 23 inches is because sometimes on this machine, when it first starts a seam, and I am just taking this and folding it, the edge in toward the center, and then I'm going to take this edge, fold it in toward the center. Doesn't have to be even, but we do want it to be even when we fold it over again on this side. Now I have raised my stitch length because top stitching just looks better with a longer stitch. I couldn't figure out for a long time why my top stitching looked like crap. It looked terrible. It looked awful. And I don't know if I was taking a class or listening to somebody talk over hearing them at the store. I don't know, but they say you need to make if you top stitch anything, you need to make a longer stitch. Well, that made all the sense in the world then. So, but what I was saying, sometimes when this machine starts up, the first quarter of an inch, it will not have it will leave kind of an ugly stitch. So I'm just going to have enough room that I can trim off the end of this if I need to. And we're just going to turn this over and start right back up. And I'm trying to keep this top stitch as close to the edge as I can, so you know, just kind of eyeballing it. And there we have a beautifully top stitched, maybe you can see it better down here under my sewing machine light, but we have a beautifully top stitch handle with a nasty end on it. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just, it's not too bad. I've seen a lot worse. We're just going to kind of trim some of that off a little bit. Now, we're going to take the outside of our bag. And I'm going to put it just a little bit higher than the edge of the bag, like this. And I'm going to do just a basting stitch. I've still got it on the big long stitch. I'm barely going to catch the edge of my purse. I think Bethany just came back. I think Piper and Jack are announcing her return. And kind of, we're going to fold up the bottom of our bag like this. And we're going to run our handle down under the bag like so. Make sure it does not twist or anything like that. And we're going to attach this right here with the handle protruding above the top of the bag ever so slightly. I'm going to pause just for a second, talk to Bethany for a second. Okay, got caught up with Bethany. Now let's put this bag, it's already closing up on me, so I'll pull it apart. And we're going to stick the bag down inside. And just like the Christmas stocking video, we're going to match up our side seams on this bag, which is hard to find. Because there's a lot of seams. And we're going to pull it taut. And we're looking to see if there's any slack on either side, whether it be the bag or the lining. Don't look like there's any slack on either one of these. So we are ready to start sewing this down. Now this is where the industrial sewing machine is the stuff, because we are sewing through 3 layers of canvas for the handle. We're sewing through